So this is the third day of this 3-day retreat. In other words, this is the final day. And actually, retreat will be over in a few hours. So in this time this morning, besides spending some time looking at the third of the fierce mantras, I also want to take time just to make sure that everyone is clear. Any questions about any of the teachings that have been shared throughout this retreat? Meaning not only that you somehow have an intellectual understanding of it, but you are very clear how to apply it in your daily life, because that is where it is important. Most of us don't live full-time on retreat. We live in the world, and the world is full of opportunities to practice these fierce mantras. It is because of the way the world is that these 3 fierce mantras were shared with us. Out of the great compassion of this 12th century teacher, he created this Dharma medicine, this medicine for the mind, so that even now, 8, 9, 10, 100 years later, it's still good medicine. That's a good medicine. I mean, most medicines have a very short shelf life. I mean, it's quite something to have a medicine that has, no expiration date on this one. So let me begin by asking, are there any questions about what's been going on so far in terms of your understanding and the practice of? Yes.
Thank you. I've been reflecting on these causes and conditions, what Gunther said. Gunther said that the cause of condition in one person can trigger the cause of condition in another person. And that was really thinking about that, because I'm in a relationship with this person who's been working on things that bother him, and then he gets critical of me, and I become aware that I don't like criticism.
So he's the perfect guy for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. So,
But there's this dance that...
Well, you want your dancing to be functional in life. You want healthy dancing.
I want to give you some medicine.
Well, this is the medicine. You got the medicine. You got to just, apply it. This is the medicine. You have to keep asking for more medicine. You're like, people go to the doctor, he's already given you good medicine, you don't really take it, and you come back and you say, you must have something else. Well, you try this medicine. It's all clear. You know what to do. Again, this is our problem. We know what to do, but we don't do it.
That's right.
Because we cling to our delusions. We cling to our way of thinking and responding that when we are objective, we see it only causes us suffering or conflict in relationship, and yet we are so self-centered, meaning we are so self-centered on our own self-thinking, our own self-perceptions, that we just won't let go of it. Even when it's very clear, again, most people don't get clear. They think the problem is what? The other person, life, they're totally got it backwards. But even when we wake up and see that the problem is really us in our life, we still don't take the steps that are needed, because why? Because we're here just habituated to our delusions. We're so attached to ourself. I'd rather be right and suffer, right, than be happy and let go. And we have to see that that's what we do. I mean, it's crazy. Life is short, right? I mean, many people look back on their lives with regret because they've wasted so much time making themselves and people around them miserable, holding on to their angers and their resentments and their, right? And and their fears and their ruminations about the past. I mean, it's like, Dharma, this is medicine. Medicine to free us. The question is, do I want to be free? I mean, that's really the question. Because the medicine is here. Like going to the doctor. Do you want to be healthy? It's like people who smoke cigarettes, who chronically go to the lung doctor, the pulmonologist, asking for help. It's like, at a certain point, there's nothing I can do for you unless you stop smoking. Right? I mean, that's the cause of your lung problems. Right? And yet people, because they're addicted, they continue. Well, we have to understand we're addicted. What are we addicted to? To our delusive thinking, to ourself. And we will cling to it. You wonder, why does he continue in a life that's obviously painful, right? Suffering. He's what? He's addicted. Right? So even though that which is clear to everybody else, and probably to him in moments of sanity, right? He can't do it. And but we have to understand that that even though addicts may have physiological dependency, we have psychological dependency. We have to understand that dependency and that addiction can be as pernicious and as powerful in our life as in the addict's life. We just cannot get out of ourself until, we encounter a spiritual path that gives us the tools to do this. That not only shows us there's another way in life, but can give us the tools to realize it. Right? If you know anything about addicts, the phrase is, they'll keep going until they hit bottom. Right? Everybody has heard that expression. Right. And the thing what you don't know is, where's the bottom? Right? There have probably been lots of times in the course of your son's life that you thought, this is the bottom. Now he's going to see it, right? Exactly. Right. And then, sad to say, they keep going. They haven't hit their bottom yet. I remember once working with a guy, Jesus, big, ugly, kind of Hell's Angel kind of guy. He was a character. I ran into him when he was in his 50s. He was sober then. He was a good guy. He was really helping other addicts. He lost fingers. Falling down drunk in the snow, and he described his life as just unremitting misery. And it's like, and then one day, for some god-awful, not god-awful, for some reason, he gets in a bar fight, falls, knocked out outside, wakes up in the morning, just stumbles into the bathroom, looks at himself in the mirror, and all of a sudden, there it was, Hopefully, in other words, that was the end. That's when he stopped. Why then? That was his bottom. Each of us in less dramatic ways. Unfortunately, you can see that even people who are living lives of such incredible misery and suffering don't see a way out, even though there is a way out. How much more than us who have many good things in our life? Right? Many more opportunities, many more reasons to want to lead a good life and really understand that. Why don't we just give it up? Give up our self-centeredness, give up our delusive thinking, give up so many of the things that we do that are just filling up time, wasting time when we have something so precious here. Not only preciousness in terms of its capacity to really transform us, to enlighten us, but that really will give us the tools and the abilities to really be of benefit to others. All the people that we love and care about, or the world we love and care about, that is also just lost in its own addictions, right? Lost in its own suffering. Any other questions in terms of any of the teachings that have been shared so far? Is everybody clear? Yeah, they're so simple. These, I agree with you. So, the 3 fierce mantras of Sangpagyare. We've spent time looking at the first, whatever has to happen, let it happen. We've had time looking at the second, whatever the situation is, it is fine. And the third, I don't need anything whatsoever, and then in parentheses, but the Dharma. How can somebody say that? I think that's the first thing that's interesting, right? I don't need anything whatsoever but the Dharma.
Because it could happen.
What?
It could happen.
What could happen?
Well, what if you didn't have family or friends? Or a nice place to live? Or a great country? It could be the reality.
Yeah. It is the reality that... Because the problem is that most of us, for our happiness, for our peace of mind, for our sense of well-being, we need things, don't we? And depending on who we are, we need lots of things. And again, we come into this world naked and totally dependent. We really don't have anything, do we? Right? If we're fortunate, we will at least have a parent or a person who will, feed us and keep us warm, change us. Very simple, right? So when you were a child, and we were all children, our needs were very simple, weren't they? A child doesn't need much to be happy, does it? If it is food, if it is fed, if it is kept warm and clean, kept safe, protected, that child will be happy. It doesn't need much, does it? Is that clear? Everybody knows that? Yeah. Please understand, that was us. That's not a child, that's us. So a child, us, with the basic needs met, had a great capacity to just be present. To just be present. Luckily I have a, what do I have? I have an 8-month-old granddaughter who has this wonderful capacity to what? Just smile and be happy. Right? She doesn't need much to be happy. She's just interested in looking and touching, putting things in her mouth. It's a very simple life. Now, she has a brother who's almost 3. He used to be like that. And he still has a wonderful capacity for happiness, but it's getting more complicated. Right? There are things that he wants and things that when he doesn't get what he wants, he's not happy. Right? It's already begun. It's already begun. When things aren't going the way he wants, he can get frustrated. It's already begun. It's still very simple, though. You fast forward as many decades as you have been alive, and you can see how complicated it's become. How many things you need to be happy. The more things you think you need to be happy, the more open you are for what? For complications. The more things you have in your life, things, people, relationships, activities, all kinds of things, if you add them all up, you can see that every one of those has the potential to be a source of happiness for you when it's what? Going your way. And for being a source of frustration, disappointment, anxiety, etc., when it's not going your way. It's as simple as that. And we think that we need all this stuff in our life to be happy, to lead a meaningful life, don't we? We have a great rationalization why everything we do and everything we have is so important and necessary, don't we? So along comes Tsongpa Gyare from the 12th century, and he says, I don't need anything whatsoever, and then in parentheses, but the Dharma. What does he mean? I don't need anything but the Dharma. What is this Dharma? That is really the only thing I need. Well, we know Dharma has something to do with mind, our minds. It is something about how to be in a way in life that clearly not only understands but is actually experiencing the inherent meaning, happiness, peace, joy, equanimity of just being. That is not dependent on things, phenomena, or activity. Is that clear? That's ground. That's the ground that he's pointing us to. When you have that ground, when you have that understanding that you don't need anything whatsoever, then you can enter into the world of things, the world of phenomena, the world of activity, the world of relationships, with equanimity. Because the success and failure, up and down, back and forth of all the activity is not what you're dependent on for your happiness and peace of mind and well-being. Right? You are dependent for your happiness, peace of mind, well-being on only one thing, your mind. If your mind is good, you're good. Whatever the circumstances. When you have understanding, which is also another meaning of Dharma, like it's what we've been doing these last 3 days, when you have understanding of how things are, then as life unfolds, this way, that way, hard, easy, success, failure, gain, loss, coming or going, it's all okay, just the way it is. I'm not dependent on these external ups and downs for my happiness. It doesn't mean I'm a stone, I'm indifferent. Yeah. At birth, I'm happy. At death, I'm sad. It's just like that, right? It's very simple. In Zen, it's often called, when hungry, I eat, when tired, I sleep. Just very easy, very natural. But that, capacity to not need anything whatsoever, again, for happiness. Thich Nhat Hanh calls mindfulness practice learning to dwell happily in the present moment. If people have heard that? Everybody likes that. People put it on their T-shirts. People put it up on their walls. Oh, this is a good one. Might even attach it as a little phrase to all their emails. Which is much easier than living it, isn't it? Yeah. We're talking about living it. Learning to dwell happily in the present moment. Understand that when Thich Nhat Hanh said that, he didn't say anything about what that present moment is, did he? That present moment could be anything. Because the dwelling is, I'm dwelling within my own mind. Relax, open, filled with understanding, compassion, loving kindness, acceptance, understanding. That's the mind, your mind, that has the capacity to dwell happily in the present moment. It's nothing you have to enforce. Really got to work at this getting happy in the present moment stuff. Right, we're always pushing it, struggling, forcing it, which only makes it worse. It is from letting go. It is from relaxing. It's from opening that happiness comes, that peace comes, that ease comes. This is very important. Even more important, I mean, can you imagine in the 11th century, in 12th century Tibet, the world of things was nothing compared to us, eh? We're 100 or 1,000 times more things going on. And yet even then, he was telling people, even with your few things, see, attachment can be strong for one thing or 1,000 things. But at least with one thing, it's all very focused. With 1,000 things, we can always think, oh, I lost this one, but I have the other 999 still. That feels pretty good. Yeah. Some people are proud. It's called what? Downsizing. Many people, they get to a certain age and they do what? They downsize. I'm quite proud of it. But they're still holding on to lots of things. They're just holding on to less things. But the attachment hasn't changed. The quantity has changed, but the quality of the attachment is the same. Much better to downsize our attachments. Downsize our grasping. Downsize our needs and our wants. That would be really beneficial downsizing, wouldn't it? I don't need anything whatsoever but the Dharma. Again, this is not meaning, I only need something called Buddhism. It means I need something teaches me and shows me and helps me really realize how to be in this life, no matter what the circumstances. I don't need anything whatsoever but the Dharma. What do you think about that? Third day of retreat? What do you think about that? Bunch of hokum? Unimaginable? Don't be shy. Is this an embarrassed silence, or is this a...
I'm going to take advantage. Because you're here in front of me. I think it's miraculous that we have such a teaching. And if we really diligently practice, and not just absorb it in our intellect, but in our heart, inward, that we possibly could have nothing but the Dharma and be truly happy. Definitely not there yet, but...
Well, that's interesting. Since you took the opportunity to speak, then I can take the opportunity to speak back to you. Why do you say not there yet? So simple. Why? It's interesting. What is that when we say things like, I'm not there yet? Where is it there you think you got to be?
The habitual, I'm working on it in my heart. But it's, I was speaking to Jacqueline in a small group, and it's like the nourishment of the plants, the good plants and the flowers are growing. But I haven't grabbed the weed by the root. I'm working on digging the weed out by the root instead of just like breaking it off and having the weed come back. So it's like a habitual, but I'm seeing a different path, if I change my perspective through my practice, things are just big picture changing in general. I'm seeing that the fruitfulness, like my whole world is changing because my perspective is changing.
Right. Yeah, so again, I think thoughts like, I'm not there yet, or I still got a ways to go, are not helpful. I think what's most helpful is to always be focused on right now. In other words, right now. And the right now is always changing, because now is not a thing. Now is just this. But right now, can I nourish the seeds of this? So when you're grasping, when you're desiring, when you feel needy, right? This is when you take this mantra out, you see. It's people think, oh, I'm not there yet. Well, there's no there to get to. You know, it's not like you're here and then you're there. I'm deluded and then I'm awakened. You know, like these are like clearly defined states with geographic markers and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's like, in this moment, do I choose to be awake? In this moment, do I choose to dwell happily in the present moment? Which means I have to stop and relax and let go of whatever is pulling me out of this, and come back and just be present. Notice that I'm here, I'm breathing, I'm seeing. You know what I mean? Just, it's always here. See, can you come back into a sense of well-being, like in the moment?
Well, Brian guided us through a mindfulness meditation of grounding in the body. And I've heard it 100 times. And it finally hit home.
Okay, so we just got to keep doing it. But again, we do it always in the present. I mean, we don't think, oh, it's going to be hard and difficult and I'm so far away, is again, it's not like that.
So I took in a large breath of air.
Yeah, just and feel your body. Come back. It's all right here. I was lost in some kind of fabrication, some kind of self-created melodrama. Nothing to do with reality. All your stories, all our fabrications, all our hurts, all our angers and resentments and fears and disappointments, they're all occurring where? In our own mind. That's where they're all occurring. That whole process of thinking and remembering, and it's just going on obsessively in our own mind. It's not going on anywhere else, is it? Right? Nobody else knows what's going on in your mind. I mean, right? It's like a TV show that only has one person watching it. It's not it's not the most popular thing on the TV. Is it?
I don't know why it took me 100 times. But I finally got it that my body is right here.
Yeah, well, we're a piece of work, aren't we? Yes, Nancy.
Well, I think the third fierce mantra is true. I feel happy. I have for the last 3 days. And, I don't have my foreign doll collection that I've had since I was a little girl, or my baskets that I've collected from all around the world, or a closet full of clothes.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people, as you know, who's reached the stage of life that I'm downsizing. I'm kind of proud of it. But, maybe I'll try to get rid of a few more things. So, yeah, it's possible. I mean, all we have here really is the basic needs and the Dharma.
Right.
It works.
Right. Exactly right. So this is why going on retreat or something like this is so important, because we realize, well, this is kind of simple. I don't have all my stuff. I don't have my activities, and this isn't bad.
No errands to do?
No errands to do. I mean, this is pretty good, and I'm happy, And I'm sure not everybody, some people have had their ups and downs, their good moments and their bad moments, but they all pass. But isn't that wonderful? See, the problem is, of course, and we're going to be going down in a few minutes, is, you have this wonderful experience now and this knowing, but that there is that habit energy, and that habit energy is tied to those things, all those things. And so the truth is, I believe you right now, but I'm also going to warn you that when you get back out there and you see all the dolls and it's gonna, all that stuff's gonna come up, and if we don't have this, see, this is when we take this out. Right. I mean, one of the things I've learned about generosity and letting go of the years, just to help you out, is I try to give away the thing I'm most attached to. Most of the time we do it the opposite way. We have many things, and these are the things I'm least attached to, somewhat attached to, pretty attached to, you know what I mean? So we kind of give away out here. Do you notice that even with our money and our we give out here, but we don't give where it hurts, you know? And the truth is, to give where it hurts, and this, you know, what I mean is really living this. It's really because this is the hard one. You know, I really have to let go. You know, and that's why it's good to do it for our own self. You know, it's all about us. It's oh yeah, wow. I thought that, you know, I always somehow thought, you know, the world would come to an end if I didn't have that thing sitting on the shelf or something. You know? And all of a sudden you realize, no, it's everything. And until we know that, that is why in Mahayana Buddhism and Zen and Dzogchen, these paths, especially for lay people, the problem is not things. The problem is our attachment to things. The problem isn't relationships. It's the way we do relationships. Is that clear? So, but to get to that point, we have to go through a lot of giving and taking until we finally get to that point where we really understand inside, yeah, I don't need anything. Yeah, these are just things. They come and they go, you know? And it's really, again, you know, it's why oftentimes people don't get this. You know, you talk to people who have, who've gone through, you know, significant life-threatening, you know, experiences, right? You have people who have had a serious bout of cancer, or, you know, and have come, you know, I mean, lots of those kinds of things, or near-death experiences, or other kinds of, you know, or their house burns down or something, right? You know, then you get it. You know. Remember last retreat? Was anybody here at last retreat? You remember there was somebody who shared that story of the you know, I can't remember it exactly, but she shared a story about she was living in New York City, and she was going home, and she got close to her apartment house, and she wasn't allowed back in because the fire trucks was there and there was smoke coming out, and so anyhow, she was watching it, and I guess the fire was around the back of the building. It really wasn't in her, but she saw it in the back. And there was an old couple who were next to her. I guess she didn't know, but they were talking. Oh, yeah, we live in that building. Oh, which apartment? Oh, you know, the one that's on fire. And they were just talking about it very calmly. And she said to them, oh, did you have anything valuable in there? And they said, oh, yeah, we've been collecting art. I think I remember this story. We've been collecting art for years. We have a really valuable art collection. And she said something, but aren't you upset? You know, aren't you upset? Because she was, you know, they were just sitting there. And I guess the woman, and I'm going to make this up, but I think it's true. But it was almost like, I think she might have rolled up her sleeve or something and showed her the tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah. And said something, you know, when you've been through this, this is nothing. Right? Can you see it? And that's, she knew about things. She knew about impermanence. You see, it's a very powerful story, wasn't it? I mean, it was almost like a story that somebody would make up, you know, but it was, she said this really happened. So it's like those kinds of experiences are often experiences which kind of wake us up, right? And we really understand more deeply the preciousness of this moment. You know, people who've gone through serious illnesses where death has been possible often say that, what? Yeah, now I know what? It's just, you know, how precious every moment is, how precious my life is, how precious the relationships are. Right? You know, you often hear that people say, you know, on their deathbed, nobody is usually bemoaning the fact that they, you know, didn't spend enough time at the office. Right? On their deathbed, people are not bemoaning the fact that they didn't finish their to-do list before they died. Are they? If they have any regrets, is what? What do people have regrets for? Things they didn't do, or the way they treated people and never apologized. You know what I mean? It's right. So having these reflections like we do on impermanence and cause and effect and mortality, they allow us to not wait to those kinds of experiences to wake us up. Is that clear? You know, it wakes us up right now. So we really see what's going on in this life and what's meaningful, what's important. I don't need anything whatsoever. Spencer, you're going to stick up for needing things?
Absolutely.
Isn't somebody going to stand up for it?
I don't need anything with the Dharma. I wonder if there's also another, sometimes Thai talks about, he'll take a Christian.
By the way, Thai is what Thich Nhat Hanh is called. It's just kind of, it means teacher. Go on.
Sometimes he will take a Christian saying and correlate it to Buddhism. And it made me think of this saying that something like, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will fall into place. And I'm wondering if that is also part of the teaching of that. You don't need anything but the Dharma. Once you're living in the Dharma, other things seem to maybe fall into place.
Yeah, so just for the recording, Spencer's just making a correlated comment about in Christianity, the kingdom of heaven is within. Or what'd you say?
Within, yes. But it says seek you first.
Seek you first.
The kingdom of heaven.
Right. So, yeah.
Could be correlated to the Dharma.
Hopefully it is. And hopefully people, again, when we say Dharma, he's not necessarily meaning like Buddhism. Because people could be Buddhists and still not get it. So this is Dharma, capital D, like the big Dharma, the truth of reality, the truth of the way things are. This is really the Dharma. Buddhism is not a theology. Buddhism is not something that was a philosophical system made up. The Buddha he didn't read anything. He didn't read anything at all. He just observed life in and around him deeply. He reflected and meditated deeply on life, his life, the life of people around him, his minds, other people's minds. And it is from that deep looking, that observation, that reflection, that what is called Buddhism came out. So that is why Buddhism has no problem with science, right? Because it's based on reality. And if somehow some Buddhist teaching is not correlating with reality, then it's not a good teaching. It needs to be looked at, right? So it always should correspond with reality, right? The Buddha land is right here, yes.
So we have to change everything about us then, how we've grown up. Watching TV because they're always stimulating us to want.
So the question is, do we have to change everything? But I don't know. Everybody has their own journey. Right? Everybody has their own journey. Everybody is who they are. I mean, I'm sounding a little simplistic, but it's really kind of like that. I don't know what you have to change. Again, this is not change because you got to change. Right? Again, the Buddha said, I teach one thing, the cessation of suffering. That's all it's about. He didn't teach insight meditation. He didn't teach choiceless awareness. He didn't teach all these things like You didn't teach mindfulness. You didn't teach these things like, to fill up our minds with techniques, right? Right? It's all about the cessation of suffering.
We stay in the now. We won't just practice.
Well, it's not just the now. We have to understand these teachings. We have to understand. I mean, it's when we are in this present, we now have a capacity of see what's going on, right? You're in the present. You're watching TV. You realize because you are present to what you're watching that you are watching something that is producing what kind of mind state within you.
A new link and one.
It's just feeding desire, let's say. Okay, so you realize what I'm doing is just feeding desire. And if I said to you, when you're aware of that, is that a good thing that you want to cultivate? Feeding your desire. Is that what you want to cultivate?
No.
No. All right, so then it's obvious I should stop doing this. Not because it's inherently bad, it is what it is, but because of its effect on me, right? Again, it's as simple when we get it. It's like an alcoholic. When an alcoholic is very is deep in their sobriety and recovery, they can they can go to a cocktail party. They can be around people that drink, and it doesn't affect them, right? But early on in their recovery or sobriety, if there still is, it'd probably be good not to be around those kinds of people and situations, right? So it's a developmental thing. Right? I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves, right? So if you say, watching violent movies gives me, bad dreams, and it just kind of feeds my own anger, you know what I mean? Then it's probably good at this stage not to watch them. Right? And to ask yourself, is there something more meaningful? Is there something else that I could be doing that's nurturing positive seeds in me? I think that's really the question in terms of looking at our activities. I mean, it's really is, what is this doing for me? And what is it doing for me? And it's always about in terms of where I want to go. You see, there has to be, the key thing is, what is my aspiration in this life? Where do I want to go in my life? Right? If I want to just go down the path of desires and needs and grasping and wanting and then spending a lot of time reading advertisements is a good thing. Right? I'm on the right path. I'm serious. Most people do that. People just love to go through I don't know. I don't read them, but people must read them, right? You can't even go to the supermarket. They're right there. Right? So people must read them. It's funny. I read the newspaper. I don't even look at an advertisement. I'm not a guy. That's like, I'm bad in that way, aren't I? I realize people must be looking at these things, right? I kind of just skip over because I'm not interested. Because what do I need? If I need something, then I'll go look for it. But on an ongoing basis, who needs to look at an ad? What?
Good sales.
What?
Good sales.
Oh, good sales, yeah. Right. But again, see, that's very interesting, right? Because why am I going there? Because it's a good sale. Not that I need anything, but that's again, that's good. Because, see, if we don't go back and ask ourselves the question, I realize it's a good sale, but do I need it? And that's a very different question, isn't it? So that's yeah. So again, where do I want to go in my life? I was just talking to somebody the other day about it's like, where do you want to go? It's like if you went to a piano teacher, right? I like to use these kinds of analogies. If you went to a piano teacher, and you said, I'd like to study with you. I'd like to learn how to play the piano, right? I would imagine a good teacher would say, well, what is your aspiration? Right? You see, from the teaching point of view, it's like, what is your aspiration? Do you want to learn how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Right? Do you want to learn how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb? Do you want to be able to play, Christmas carols for your family at Christmas? You know what I'm saying? Do you want to learn how to play show tunes? Do you want to learn how to play classical music? Do you want to learn how to play Bach? You know what I'm saying? Are you playing just for your own enjoyment, or do you really want to play because you want to play for others and get? You see, those are the things that would then the teacher would go, well, for this, if you practice 15 minutes a day, that'll be fine, right? Oh, but if you want that, I'd say you have to practice a minimum of 2-3 hours a day, right? Can you see that? I mean, it's all based on us. What is my aspiration? Then what I do makes sense, you see? If my aspiration is to really learn how to dwell happily in the present moment with things just as they are without, needing lots of things, then obviously if I'm spending a lot of my time thinking about or feeding, that need, or, you know what I mean? I mean, like, if Darlene said, well, that's what I want to be, well, how do you spend your spare time? Well, I like to hang out at the mall. You know what I mean? I mean, what's the mall about? I mean, what's the mall about? Shopping. It's all about things. It's all about things, It's like, if you're not interested in, it's like you got enough things, you don't go to the mall anymore. I mean, and again, I have nothing against malls. I want to go. But can you see, it's like, right? I mean, if horror movies give you bad dreams, well, why are you watching horror movies? I mean, it's like, you don't have to. If every time you're in this situation around this person, you feel a little bad, well, why do you do it? I mean, if you're doing it because you're able to really help them and benefit them, and it doesn't really affect you because well, that's good. But we have to ask ourselves, is that true? Am I really there yet? Right? It's like the alcoholic who's not ready to be around people who drink or can't be around it yet. You've got to know that. We have to know developmentally where we are. At this point, we have to be more protective about ourselves, because we're still very easily influenced. Right? There may be, later on we're not, but only we can answer that. Is that clear? So that's very important that we have this honesty. But again, it's all about where do you want to go, right? If you want to, be, if you say, like in Buddhism, the highest aspiration is to be a bodhisattva. I want to be enlightened. I want to really, free myself of all my own sufferings and delusions, and I want to really be able to give that to others. Right? Let's say somebody has that aspiration. Okay? Well, that's not 15 minutes a day, is it? You see, it's not that one. Right? If your aspiration is to have a little less stress in your life, right? Just a little more calmness. Yeah, the 15, 20-minute thing is fine, right? But if your aspiration is more transformative, if you really want to free yourself from your afflictions, then it's a. Can you see? It's so. The prescription has to fit the person and their aspiration. Right? Like some people are taking the basic course. Some people are taking the honors course. Some people are in the advanced placement course. And that may have a lot to do with what? Aspiration. Right? Oh, I want to go for advanced study. I want to do this. No, I don't. I just want to Basic learning's fine with me. Do you see? It's like that. So spending a little time to really understand what really is my aspiration in this life. And how does spiritual practice, meditation, mindfulness, all these things, how does that fit into my aspiration? Yes, some questions. Yes.
Working through a lot of stuff as you're speaking, and because of my life situation, my age, and yet at the same time I'm raising young children. I'm raising, unfortunately, not young children, acting out adolescent addicted children. So here
you're raising your
adopted my 3 grandchildren. My daughter's drug addicted, and now the children are drug addicted.
Yeah.
Like my mother used to say, honey, you were a pill of the fun in another life.
Okay. So this is something you've chosen to do. So you're raising these 3 teenagers.
Absolutely. So now when they were little, I mean, they were 3
Right.
now, but now, they are older and addicted and acting out. So I'm thinking in terms of my stage in life, I'm thinking, in terms of I want nothing else but peace. It's working on my mind because the peace, obviously, we know it doesn't come from outside. However, at home in my kitchen, I have, and my idea, of course, at this stage in life, go to Ecuador, travel Latin America, whatever. My goals, I continue my study, continue my growth spirit. However, the reality is in my kitchen, I have a 15-year-old addicted adolescent who thinks he knows it all and can do whatever he wants to. So, in terms of being pulled by the selfishness, and the entitlement, the story, come on, I'm 70, just about. This is the stage in life. And on the other hand is this reality of my duty, my obligation to these children who at times are verbally abusive. Of course, they're addicted and doing what they want. So living the Dharma under circumstances, my behavior is in check. I don't want to tell you about my mind, okay? My behavior with them is in check. Words with them are appropriate, whatever. And inside, to be able to go through these things which are beautiful, whatever the situation is, let it be. I'm okay with that. I have no, only because I don't have a choice. I can't do anything about the situation.
Let me, you know what? First of all, you always have a choice.
I don't think that I have a choice.
Right, but I mean, we have to understand that. You always have a choice. If you have an acting out addicted adolescent who is doing all kinds of things, you have to ask yourself, right? What? Am I really benefiting him? See, that's an interesting question. It's not about obligation or duty, which is certainly I can understand. But it's again, am I really benefiting him? What does he really need now? And that's a very different question than obligation and duty and guilt and all that. I mean, and it's a hard question, but again, it's can I objectively look at the situation, right? And really do what's best, not what's right. It may not be. And then, of course, there is the truth of you. And that's a truth too. And your suffering, and your aspiration. And that's in the mix, and you can't deny that's in the mix. Right? And life is messy, often. Choices are not clean, are they? Choices are not clean and not clear often. But yet we want to make choices, right? And we always have to remember, we always have choices. It's often we can do anything. I remember once.
Noble choices.
What?
I said I want to make noble choices.
Well, noble choices, again, the choice is always no. You want to make intelligent choices. You don't want to act from some sense of what's noble. You want to go, the nobility is how you act in the present. Nobility is wisdom. That's the nobleness of the human condition. It's to act from wisdom. And acting from wisdom is not always acting from self. It's acting from, in the situation, what appears to be the best thing to do. Right? For who? And you.
Well, our needs are, and some things that happens to all of us. What is best for one person is not best for the other. And by being the parent, and I think any parent would say that many times what's good for the parent is definitely not what's best for their child.
Right, but again, that's up to a certain stage. Children change. At different ages, they have different needs, and there are different developmental stages, and as a parent, we have to adapt like that. The way we take care of our 5-year-olds is different than the way we would take care of our 15-year-old and our 25 and our 35. And that's important, too, to understand that what was a good parenting style for a 5 or a 10-year-old may not be for a 15-year-old. And that's, but again, let's say you wanted to be a doctor. You really wanted to help people. A doctor. And you really wanted to help people. You really wanted to say, there's a lot of disease out there. I really want to really help people who are really sick. So to do that, you have to go through what? Lots of training. Now, while you're in training, there are lots of people sick and dying from that thing you want to be able to cure, aren't there? Why don't you just run out and help them? Why don't you run out and help them? Come on, the people dying right now. Why don't you run out and help them? You say you're a compassionate person. Why don't you run out and help them? Well, you have to be strong and say, I do want to help them, but I understand I want to help them in this way. I mean, to say that I want to help people is wide open. I can just be, smile at people. Right? Be kind to people. Say nice things to people. That's helpful. I can volunteer in all kinds of good nonprofits that do good things, right? That's helpful. That's all good. But the thing we're talking about here is an understanding that even if everybody had all their basic needs met, right? Would they still be suffering? And so what Buddhism is getting at is that fundamental suffering that human beings have. There could be people here in this room who are here not because they're addicted or not because, but just because of there's something even in ordinary life when it's good that still lacks meaning. This kind of dissatisfaction, So it's again, what is your aspiration for how you want to benefit people? See, it could be very true that you can't benefit your grandson now. You see, that could be true. That you can't benefit him at all. That he's going to do what he's going to do. And that you can't benefit him at all. And so therefore, what?
Yeah. Possible too that to look at it in the sense that my suffering is not being caused by the circumstances. The addiction, all the stuff, it's painful, but that the suffering that I'm going through right now is my inability to accept that on the one hand I'm torn because, hey, I'm 70, I want to be able to have a life. And on the other hand, it's the reality of my life, and rather than accepting it and being at peace, that it's not pretty, but it's what life has brought me.
Again, it's if you have made that choice, if you have clearly 100% made that choice, and you say there's no other option, I'm staying here, I'm going to put up with this abuse, I'm going to put up with this, then all this has to be put in effect. Again, having cancer is not a happy experience. It's an experience, and certainly we can minimize the emotional suffering through the practice, but there's a certain degree of pain and discomfort that isn't, you are putting yourself in a highly hostile, negative situation. It's not going to be easy in happiness, is it? And that's the truth. Obviously, these teachings and practices can be very beneficial to you, right? But that's still not going to change the situation. And so again, this is not a panacea. These teachings are teaching us how, in the midst of all situations, can I maintain my equanimity and well-being. There may be times when you have to be very wrathful with your grandson. Set limits. Pick up the 2x4. Right?
Yes.
But you don't do it with hate and anger to the best of your ability. You do it because you know that's what he needs. Right? He doesn't respond to love anymore. He doesn't respond to kindness. That's sad, but that's the truth. And so you have to give him what he needs for his own well-being. That's the wrathful deity side of life. So good.
Really at peace in the midst of the wrathful.
Well, because you're motivated by love. That's the key thing. You're motivated by love. You love him and you want to help him. But you understand, he needs a 2x4. That's the best thing you can do, because he doesn't respond to anything else. Did you see? And it's not easy, is it? But that's where you practice in the midst of that. We call that, the lotus growing in the mud. That's the mud. Where is the flower of compassion and understanding and develop? Only in the mud. And you just happen to be into a lot of mud.
Goodness. Thank you very much.
So, this is the most important time of the retreat, this next hour. Because retreat is coming to an end. This little artificial world we've created ourselves, Nancy, right? Where we have, all the responsibilities, all the things of the world, other than we can keep thinking about it, but in reality, we've been here, right? Our needs have been taken care of. People have been cooking for us. We don't have to clean up after ourselves. It's, people are ringing the bells for us. Other people are telling us when to get up and when to go to sleep. It's, right? There's been a lot of nourishment of Dharma. But now each of us are going to be returning to our life. And that is different for everyone here. And so it is important that you realize that this only has purpose and meaning if you take it into your life. Okay. And you have to understand that everybody in here has a life, right? Outside of here. And that's what you're returning to. And that life has its own energy, the way you've been doing it, as well as everybody in your life who has been doing it with you have not been on retreat. Right? Okay. So if anything has shifted and changed in you, please understand, they're probably doing it the same way they always did it. Right? You have to understand that. And the question is, what have you learned here over these last 3 days? And how do you want to bring it into your life so your life begins a process of healing and transformation? Right? That's up to you. Because a lot of the support of the guided meditations, of the bells, of the structure, of the Dharma talks, of the schedule, it's all going to come to an end, isn't it? And we're all going to be left with ourselves and our life. And if transformation and healing are going to occur, they can only occur in life. So, this next hour, where we're going to be focusing on that, this is the important. You need to build a bridge to your daily life. You have to come out of your retreat with real clarity, about, where do I want to go in life? And life not like in some abstract thing, like I want to, but life like in a real thing. So people might say, well, I want to be happy, or I want to be more peaceful. What does that mean in your life? What are you going to do to make that happen? So this is the bridge. And the more concrete the bridge is, the more it'll happen. Okay? Please, many people kind of go through this kind of weird thing where they go, well, I've been on retreat for 3 days, meditating all day. I need a break. Oh, gee, do I need a break? Your seeds of mindfulness and concentration and understanding are just sprouts. They need to be continually nourished. Okay? I'm a gardener, right? I can't just plant the seeds and walk away, can I? I have to be out there every day, right? Taking care of them, making sure they're getting enough water, making sure nothing's eating them. Gotta take care of the plants. These plants of understanding that you have developed over these 3 days need to be cultivated regularly if they're going to grow. The seeds of distraction, the seeds of just enjoying yourself with endless kinds of dispersion, you've done that endlessly. But this crazy minder is saying to us, oh, I got to get out there and really what? Go shopping. Yeah, I need to find myself a good sale. Kind of missed it over the last 3 days. As if somehow that's, that's what I was trying to say to Sandy. You can't listen to this mind. It'll endlessly go down the old byways it's always gone down. That's called the conditioned mind. It is cultivated, it is based on the past. It has no capacity of changing. It only knows what it knows. We have to begin to cultivate new ways of seeing, new ways of being. Left to our own devices, that habitual mind will just continue to run along the paths that it's always run. There is no doubt about that. That's cause and effect. If you want to change, something has to change. If you've nourished seeds of change in you over these past 3 days, they need to be nourished even more when you're out of here, because the habit energy is waiting for you. Right? It's kind of funny, but that's how it works. Actually, I think, I think next Saturday, the Day of Mindfulness up here in Tampa. Right? Then many of us could be thinking, phew, we're just on a 3-day retreat. The last thing I need is a day of mindfulness. That's how we think, isn't it? If we're honest. I need a break. That's the problem. So, thank you all for coming to retreat. Thank you all for listening to the Dharma. There may be things that were said that you don't agree with. There may be things that were said that you don't understand. There may be things that were said that really pissed you off. Good. That's good. Dharma should shake us up. It should challenge us. Get us out of our comfort zone. Right. So So that's good. So if everybody here is really upset, I'm happy. I've done my job.